Namato Ratana Tayasa. May I pay homage to Triple Gem, the Buddha, Dhamma, and the Sangha. My respect goes to my parents and my teachers. Hello, good evening everyone. So today is Wednesday the 4th of November 2020, and this is Ajahn Sujan from Varapunya Meditation Center, Aberdeen, Scotland. So as usual, I'm here with you all tonight. And thank you everyone for listening and joining this online Facebook Dhamma talk and following this our center's Facebook page. And just to remind you that all the talks are available on our YouTube channel, Varapunya Buddhist Meditation Center, and they are also categorized into different playlists. You can choose to listen as you want, or you can scroll down and find your favorite to listen. So the 4th day of the November, and the cold weather is just creeping in and giving us a feel of this cold and a dampness gradually increasing day and day. We all need to be conscious about the cold and wrapping ourselves up. Meanwhile, as the cold weather creeping in, the coronavirus also spreading smoothly in a way. Despite we dislike it, it's just spreading. It's quite stressful to hear about it, but again, I would not say that is more stress than those election news in America that is taking place, that is shaking all around the world. So we are not going to the politics, and also will not be favor of any whoever comes in a politics, as long as they can be a good, righteous leader. That's good enough for all of us. But obviously, I have heard, a long time ago, not heard actually, I read one of the magazines a long time ago. The Shakespeare says that politicians cheat even the God. So I have nothing to say about it at all, apart from wishing and hoping to have the righteous leader, and which unlikely we could have it. But at least they are doing something good, and they are in a state of a very difficult time. They cannot make a decision, they will be blamed. They can make they make a decisions, again there will be objections, like that. Even this coronavirus issue, if they close the country, then again there will be opposition. If they don't close it, again there will be opposition too. So it's quite a catch-25 place. But they already love it to be in that state anyway, right? Okay, so let's go to the topic of the day again. Just to remind you that we are working on the paticcasamuppada. So I have been explaining the doctrine of the paticcasamuppada, also known as causality or dependent origination, which is famously known. And it's been day 10th, I think, today. I've been explaining on this in different forms and different ways, but I haven't tell you as in a sequence from the top to the bottom. So I thought today I will be chanting it out so you can see how this is chanted in the Pali version of this dependent origination, and later I will explain a little bit on that before we going into the last section of the day. And obviously I have said that this dependent origination is very, very deep and very, very important teachings of the Buddha. So this dependent origination, there are two ways of looking at it. One is called a samudaya vara, which is the origination of things, and the second is nirodha vara, the cessation of sufferings or the things. So in terms of the samudaya vara, the origination, it goes like this. Ida bhikkhave arya savako paticcasamuppadanyeva sadhukang yoniso manasi karoti. Imasming sati idhang hoti, imassupada idhang upacchati. Imasming asati idhang nahoti, imassa nirodha idhang nirucchati. Yadhidhang avijja pacaya sankhara, sankhara pacaya vinyanang, vinyana pacaya nama rupang, nama rupa pacaya salayatanang. Salayatana pacaya passo, passa pacaya vedana, vedana pacaya tanha, tanha pacaya upadanang, upadana pacaya bhavo. Bhava pacaya jati, jati pacaya jara maranang, soka paritheva dukkha domana supayasa sangbhavanti eva me tassa kevalasa dukkha khandasa samudayo hoti. So this is how the samudaya vara, how the origination of the entire world system in a way, how it originates. So this is the origination, and here basically it's called eva me tassa kevalasa dukkha khandasa samudayo hoti. This is how suffering arises. And similarly, opposite is avijjayataveva asesa viraga nirodha sankhara nirodho. The very moment when ignorance eradicates, a sankhara, the formation, false. And with that, eva me tassa kevalasa, so it goes on that the depending on that, goes on that when there is no ignorance, the way we act and what we do will be wholesome, and will just and reverse section starts reversing. And the last bit one, it says eva me tassa kevalasa dukkha khandasa nirodho hoti. This is how the suffering ends. And this is the entire teachings on the dependent origination. Now this, when we look at it, it looks like very hard and very dry, and it's very philosophical and so difficult to understand. Well, it is true that when we are looking through the philosophical point of view, or if we are just looking through the theoretical way, it is quite difficult to grasp, even comprehend it, how that links. So it's very, very difficult to understand. But when we look at it in terms of day-to-day basis or daily paticcasamuppada or dependent origination in a daily routine in our own life, then we can check it so clearly that how it relates to our way of life and how we are turning that into, whether to going into the cycle of a birth and a death or towards the liberation. Suppose you see things. Now here again, there is the discourse going on, discourse that the Buddha told, said that how the world originates. And this, the Buddha told, saying that the world appears through I comes to contact with the object, and that is how the world will appear. And because of this contact with the world, we have a feeling, and because of that feeling we crave, and we crave about that object, and because of a craving of that object we will grasp on that. We have an attachment on it, and because of that attachment, what happens is that we put an effort to get it, and that's how it exists. So it come to be. And that's simply because you see something and a whole process that works so fast. At that time, by the time when you realize you already bought it, or you already have it, or exist. So this is how it works. Suppose you are going into the town, let's say going for window shopping. As you are wandering shop after shop, shop after shop, and you didn't have any intention to buy anything, and somehow the new fashion arrives there in that shop, and you saw that beautiful cloth, and as soon as you see that, so I comes to contact with that object, and you have this strive to get it. At that time, again, you will find every possible ways why you should have it. You will make any possible way to why you have it. And if you have it, then you will be feeling like, oh, such a greatness, or what a wonderful. You will be imagining the whole new form of a world around you with having this new cloth. Sometimes you may not have money in your pocket, and yet you will make every possible ways to accumulate that amount of money to get that item. And now it exists to be. Still there, but not belong to you. But you have this thirst, you have this striving to have it. And as you have this striving, this grasping, this attachment, and proliferating into the different ways of different forms and saying that I should have it, so you will buy it. And you will over the moon. You will be enjoying, you will be happy. And that happiness may not last long. As soon as you arrive home, you may say, oh, why did I buy that? Or sometimes you may, and after you bought it, after you paid and you bought it, and as you're walking back home, you will be contemplating on that item that you have bought it, which is already exist now. And that exists, that is the whole connected simply from what you have seen, the first contact. And this exists. And as soon as you question, why did I buy this one? So, decaying of that happiness. Slowly that decays, that fades. So aging and death. Finally, sometimes you may go back and return it. Other time you just take it and maybe just put it in your cupboard for many years, and which I have seen and I have heard too, that there are many people who bought many years ago and still in the cupboard, left like that. Right? So that's why this dependent origination, or this depending on something which is happening, is basically the fundamental teachings that we can relate in our day-to-day life in every form. So that's why when Buddha was saying that how the world arises, then Buddha was saying that I comes to contact with the object, and that's how you create the new form, new world. system. That's why on the basis of that teaching, I normally say that we are living in a multiple world system. We don't have to go and search beyond this earth. We are already in this multiple world system, that each one of us has got our own world system that we have created through the senses that come in contact. And this creation, again, is not because on the basis of someone or external or the God. It is based on your own reaction to the things that come to contact. And that's known as avidya, not knowing. Not knowing the reality, not knowing that everything arises on the basis of depending on one another. There is no single cause. So not knowing that, we react, and that's how we generate the whole system. I remember about 10 years ago, there was one boy who was around 9 or 10 years old, and I used to look after him. And whenever he wants something, he will make every possible ways that he should have it. And if he doesn't get it, he will cry and cry and cry, saying it's not fair. You can get everything, she can get everything, he can get everything, why not me? Like that. So it goes on. But as soon as he got it, then he is over the moon. And that item, sometimes he will play only once and just thrown away in a corner, like that. And we are all same like that nature. We are still babies. When we want, we do everything to get it. And we don't want, and we do everything to push that away. Neglect. Or we will use all the vicinities or surrounding people around us, and we try to make difference too. So that's how this dependent origination, the doctrine of a dependent origination, we can link in our day-to-day life. But nevertheless, we have to understand in a linear form first, and then we can reflect on that this is not linear as we read it or as we study, but it is not a linear too. So as a result of that, this dependent origination, also known in 20 factors, 20 factors or 20 conditions, and that's simply because there's 5 past causes, 5 present results, and 5 present causes, and 5 future results. And that is how it is classified. And when we talk about 5 past causes, which was in the past, and on the basis of that past, we are here now. And that past causes are simply, there are 5. Number 1 is ignorance. We do not know what should be known. And when we talk about we do not know what should be known, is simply the Four Noble Truths, or the Eightfold Noble Path, or dependent origination, or 3 characteristics. And that is what we do not know. So because of not knowing what should be known, we react. We intentionally react to something, to be or to not to be. That's called formation. And because of that reaction that you have taken, or your action that you have done, obviously there is a consciousness arises, because you're consciously doing that, and that's how it's become alive. Okay? But before going into the consciousness, the action that we take, that's simply because we want to do something, we want to have it, or we don't want to have it. And we have an attachment to it, that if I don't get it, I will be very miserable in terms of the pleasurable things, and if I have it, which is I don't like it, again, that may be miserable too. And that's how we become in that state. So in the past cause, in a way, that the past cause that we are now is because the ignorance and the craving and the attachment, and then formation, how we form, and that's how bhava, the existence, begins. And that is the past cause. And in terms of the present, because of the past, there is a present. So we are living in the present moment. So we are a result of our past. And in this present moment, what we have got is the consciousness. And that consciousness is because we have reacted, we have created something. And that's how the consciousness is there. And along with this consciousness, it comes nama rupa, the body and the mind. And because of there is a body and the mind, we have 6 senses. And because of the 6 senses that we have, the 6 senses normally would contact with the outside world. The form, the sound, the taste, the contact, and these things. And because of the contact with these, it produces a feeling. And so these are the 5 factors we have in this present time. So we have a consciousness called a vijnana, and we have a nama rupa, and we have this 6 senses. And contact and the feelings are again obviously the outcome of it. So this is present result. And now when we look at the present cause, what is making us to be in the future? If there is no future, then that means nihilism. We end here. And that's why there is a philosophy called a charavak, or a materialistics. They do not think that, or the philosophy teaches that there is nothing after it. So that's why it ends here. And you can entertain, you can enjoy your life because there is no after death. But here the teaching is whatever we are doing now, that defines the future. As we are now because of the past action that we have done. And the present, again here, and the present cause. Now obviously coming back to the same pattern, that whatever we are doing, as the feeling arises, we do not know that that feeling is impermanent. That is not a permanent entity. It is just a temporarily arising, and it just arises and vanishes away. Not knowing that temporarily arising feeling, we crave to that. Yeah? We crave, and we form, and we have attachment, and that's how it becomes. So that's why the present cause is ignorance, our intention to act something, our craving, our attachment or a grasping or clinging, and then the existence, bhava. And this is again, this bhava is a present cause. Now obviously when there is a cause, there is an effect, the result. And the result, again, coming back to the 5 aggregate, or this vijnana, the consciousness, 6 senses, like that. But here in a paticcasamuppada, just given aging, birth, aging, and death, and that's just a summary of these five principles. So when we look at this all into the 5 factors of each, past cause, present result, and then present cause, future results, all together it comes to the 20 modes or 20 factors. So that's why this is looking at the paticcasamuppada in terms of the 4 modes of 20 factors. Now again, here we look at into another way of looking into that, the kamma, kilesa, kamma, and vipaka. Now kilesa is a defilement, and this is again talking about the root cause. Kilesa is a defilement. Defilement is greed, hatred, and delusion in general understanding. But according to paticcasamuppada, the kilesa is avidya, tanha, and upadana. So ignorance, craving, and clinging is the kilesa. So there are 3 kilesas. And these 3 kilesas we have to understand. And because of these 3 kilesas, we act. So there are 2 called karma vata, the circle of the karma, how it works. So sankhara and bhava, the karma. And this sankhara, volitional action or volitional formation or will act, because of that, bhava, existence, arises. And this is in terms of looking at our action, and looking at in a form of our action and how results comes. And the last one is the vipaka vata, which is the result. And in the result, we see the present, what we have now is the result. And this is, it's called the vipaka vata. Okay, and there are vipaka vatas. There's 5 vipaka vatas, and that is the consciousness that we have, nama rupa that we have, nama rupa or the mind and the body, and then salayatana, the 6 senses, phassa, the contact, and the feeling, the vedana. So these are the 5 things are known as the result that we have now. So it is, in a way, looking from the, it's called the vata, the 3 vatas, the kilesa vata, the kamma vata, and vipaka vata. And these are the main root which is spinning the whole cycle of the samsara. Kilesa vata, obviously, because of the greed, hatred, and delusion, not knowing what should be known, we crave and we have attachment to that things, not able to let go, and not able to understand things as they are, and as a result we react, and that's the reaction that brings something out of it, and that is our life itself. Now, practice of a meditation is to understand these, how that links. Doesn't matter in terms of the bigger picture. Just look at in a small picture of our own action, everyday action that we take, and you see that every action that you are reacting always comes from the feeling. And this feeling, if you look at again closely, you realize that this feeling arises simply because the contact, and where this contact is coming from, the origin of the contact. The origin of contact is simply coming from our eyes, nose, tongue, and or the body, 6 senses. And where this 6 senses is coming from, the 6 senses is coming from because of we have this body and there is mind. And where this body and mind coming from, it's because of the consciousness. It's called patisandhi consciousness, the continuation, the stream of the consciousness that is coming through. And that's how we will see in our day-to-day life. We don't have to go up to the mind and the body. We can start watching closely from 6 senses, an ability to comprehend it, an ability to be free yourself, whether to react or simply respond, or whether to continue or stop there. But as you develop your practice, you will be able to stop there at that moment and free from any reactions to arise, and that will give you further understanding of the reality. And this is the paticcasamuppada, the dependent origination. So I end here for today. Thank you everyone for listening, and may you all be well and happy. May you all be enlightened. With this, may the Buddha Dhamma Sangha bless you. Thank you for listening, and in a few moments' time we are going to have a chanting and guided meditation. You are most welcome to join with us. Until then, good night, and see you tomorrow, if not today. So, see you shortly. Sadhu.